What's this? A game where you play as a cat? What is the ultimate goal? Finding a nice bird to eat, or knock a bunch of crap off all the sides? Or scratching at the door and yowling at 3 o'clock in the bloody morning when I'm trying to bloody sleep? Or just generally being a massive prick?
Is your cat still being a prick by chance?
Well, she is still a cat, so yes. Why do we love these horrible, horrible creatures?
Beats me, I'm a dog person. Stray is a new game that released on the 19th of July and follows the adventure of a cat who I've been calling Tigger because it reminds me of my dad's cat. I downloaded it as a member of Sony's premium thing, and I'm not gonna lie, skeptical as I remain about the whole thing, I do see the merits of this system for us users. Being able to download more games, even newly released titles, without needing to drop the money then and there is handy, and this looks like a step taken to finally make Sony's console subscription service something worth paying for.
I beg your pardon, madam. Sony's PS Plus subscription is a lovely service and always worth the money. Hell, without it, you can't even play online.
Yeah, that's not exactly the selling point that you think it is. I'm from that generation who remembers when we didn't need to pay a ransom to a console just to play online. It's not offering a service, it's an artificial paywall, and it saddens me to think that kids these days will be so used to this exploitative bollocks.
Well, how do you propose I make money then, smart-ass?
By providing a real service, not just locking away something that was previously free and then holding out the begging tin. Still, my point is that this premium service is in the early stages of looking like it might be something worth paying for in the long run. Only time will tell. Anyway, this isn't meant to be a rant about Sony's bullshit, this is meant to be the review of a game about a cat. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a few ways you can do that. First of all, you can give this video a like, maybe leave a comment and subscribe for future content. To support the channel directly, go to my Patreon page and pledge £1 a month. This will get you 24 hours early access to new review videos, shoutouts at the end of videos, and you'll even get to suggest games for me to cover. Or if you'd like something more tangible back for your support, then head over to my T-Bill shop. The links to both my T-Bill shop and my Patreon page are in the description of this video, so be sure to check them out. In Stray, we play as an orange kitty cat who is living contently with their other kitty cat friends, then one day, whilst out on a stroll, we become separated from said kitty cat friends and wind up in an underground, sealed-off city. From there, we must find a means of escape, because despite how easy it was to get into this supposedly sealed-off city, it will for some reason be about 10 times harder to get back out again. I think my gripe here is that for a city that's supposed to be completely cut off from the outside world, it sure was easy for the outside world to get into the city. Within this city, we discover a community of robots called companions, who are living in their homes formerly occupied by a long-since extinct humanity, and we must enlist their help.
Oh, are we playing as some sort of talking cat who has a way with interacting with emotionless automatons? Kind of like if Garfield was made into a video game.
No, not really. We're kind of just a cat.
Wait, then I'm confused. How do we get robots to help us if all we can do is meow and lick our own arsehole?
See, basically we find a small hovering drone which has a human consciousness downloaded into it, and it serves as our means of communication with the robots. Once we find this drone, we spend most of the game trying to help them get their memories back. They seem to know what the world was like before it became all post-apocalyptic and shit.
So basically, we end up carrying around the main character of this story.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, again though, we are just playing as a cat, not a supernatural entity in the body of a feline, not a genetically engineered kitty, just a common ginger tom. I think it's a ginger tom. Cats are a subject I'm not an expert in. The gameplay is based around jumping from ledge to ledge and completing some straightforward puzzles, and it's all centered around things that cats can do, with the only modifier being that this cat is apparently a bit cleverer than your average feline. The first section of the game sees you snuggle with other kitties and then go for walkies. As you make your way through the dilapidated ruins of a long dead civilization, you're given the rundown of the controls. Something I thought was weird is how jumping is entirely contextual in this game, and how the game doesn't allow you to fall off of platforms. What I mean is there's no way to fall to your death from something high. It's not so much a platformer as it is a puzzle game, which I did have some reservations about. Games without a failure state can work, but only when done right. But then I had no reason at that moment in time to assume that A, the game lacked a failure state entirely, or B, the game wouldn't be able to handle it well. I'm a very cynical human being. The last decade of game and movie releases has largely taught me not to expect things to be good, because it's much more likely that they will suck. I went into Ralph Breaks the Internet, for example, expecting to love it because I loved Wreck-It Ralph, only to discover that it was a load of arse. I remember looking forward to the games Agony and Close to the Sun, only to realise that one was a complete mess of bollocks and the other was just kinda boring. A quick note to any developer making a horror game: don't make your horror game boring, it really, doesn't help. I bought Salt and Sacrifice wanting to love it, only to wind up so turned off that my genitals nearly fled my body entirely. Hell, I was hyped for the likes of Dead Rising 3 and Agents of Mayhem, with them turning out to be a mediocre zombie game in the former's case and a load of squid cum in the latter. So when Stray revealed to me that the game relied heavily on contextual situations rather than being a pure platformer that would suit well a game where you play as Mr. Whiskers, I hope you can understand why I defaulted to something of a frown and dropped my expectations back into that shallow grave in which they usually live. Now we come to the second act twist. I ended up really liking the game and how it was designed. After my first hour, I was smiling and leaning forward, engrossed in the delightful game about a cute little pussycat. There was something delightfully engaging about exploring the city from the cat's perspective.
Oh, fuck off.
Seeing the world from Angle High was interesting. It gave me Little Nightmares vibes in that we're a small, fragile thing in an unfeeling world, just with slightly less hostility. And climbing up the infrastructure was rather smooth. The challenge is often trying to decipher exactly where you're supposed to go next. There's not to say that there aren't real threats in the game and moments of actual physical danger for our little kitty cat. It's more that they're the exception rather than the rule, and I think that's what makes them interesting. But most of the game is spent wandering around trying to figure out exactly what you're supposed to do to achieve your current goal. We have our little robot-human buddy thing that can remind us of our primary objectives, but it's up to us to discover exactly what we have to do to complete them. The methods can be a bit roundabout, but I never found them to be tedious. Like the bit where we have to destroy security cameras in order to get a CD because somehow this helps us get a high-vis vest and a hat. And yes, you do need those, I promise you. There is a stealth section about 2/3 of the way into the game which relies on using our kitty cat parkour, or parpour if you will.
Please stop.
And when that fails, hiding in a box until the nasties pass. At first I just thought the boxes were lying around just so we could do the cat thing of being able to sit in a box, only putting it together when I saw the environmental layout around them, though I completely expected it to be a case of just being a thing that cats were able to do and that's why it was added to the game.
Right, but would they really just put mechanics into the game that serve no purpose other than just being things cats do?
Yes and no. See, whilst you can curl up and take a little cat nap, which serves no functional purpose other than looking adorable, or getting a paper bag stuck on your head which inverts your controls, you can also scratch carpets and furniture for giggles, but later on this scratching mechanic becomes necessary for making real progress. But let's face it, if we're playing a game where we're a kitty cat, then if the devs didn't let us do the things that cats are well known for doing, then we'd all be very sore at them, and rightly so. And now to talk about the levels. Oh boy, what an amazing and natural segue that was. We have a brief opening section where we're outside, but then the first proper level is set in the slums of the sealed city. I also want to mention how long it took me to say slums of the sealed city properly, like 20 times. Why did I write that line? Here we'll need to use our speed and cunning to escape hordes of angry flesh-eating these. Also, there are eyeballs in the sewer down here. I was conferring with a scientist and we can't really figure out why these eyes are here and why the bugs are happening. There might be an explanation somewhere in the game. If there is, I've missed it. Luckily, we get a lamp in this section which can destroy the buggies, but that gets destroyed shortly after we get it and then we have to leg it out of there. Luckily, we don't really need it from that point on, because the next section of game is a short trek around a village where we find a single dude who might as well have just given us a pat on the bum to send us on our way. The next section of town is overseen by harsh security, and this is where we get our stealth sections. I died here a lot because the robots kept spotting me and shooting me because I panicked and forgot which way the nearest hidey box was. I'll admit though, I quite like how that when we're spotted we get a few seconds to run away and find a place to hide before the robot actually shoots us. There are plenty of games out there with stealth sections that amount to little more than, oh, don't get spotted because if you get spotted you have to start again, which is always annoying. Being able to pick ourselves back up from our fuck up is always nice, so well done Stray on that one. Later on we get ourselves arrested and have to break out of jail. There are more of those security robots hanging around, so we've got to lure them into cells so that we can get past with our robot buddy. By the way, we've got a robot buddy here who we're helping escape. They're actually the one who got arrested. They were the ones the police were after in the first place. We were just kind of arrested as an accessory. Wait, can cats be tried as accessories to crime? I don't know. I don't know how the legal system works in this game. Or in real life. I've never tried to commit a crime using a cat. I use tortoises like a normal person. The final section is just taking down some computers and opening up the city, achieved by walking on some keyboards and scratching up some wires. See, we do what cats do, then we're free to go, yay! I'm glad my training as a cat finally paid off and we got to escape this city. We don't see our cat friends again though, which is kind of a shame. I guess that's a spoiler, although it doesn't really feel like a spoiler. There was a plot here about a group of the robots who wanted out of this city. They were called the Outsiders and they were ridiculed and arrested for daring to think outside the box. Oh, real subtle metaphor there, lads. Though that said, I didn't really mind the plot. It wasn't as deep or interesting as it could have been, but it was functional. I am not so sure where I stand on the robots overall though, if I'm honest. On the one hand, their presence bred a melancholic feeling within me. Seeing them act like the absent humans without really knowing why communicates effectively to me that so much time has passed since the humans died out. We're seeing a world that was heavily influenced by humanity in their presence but is now void of said presence. Only our commodity items remain to fill our roles. I assume these robots served humans. I mean, why else would we build robots if they weren't going to to serve us, but now they've taken on lives of their own and have gotten on just fine without their masters around. But on the other hand, there is a part of me that thinks they're only here simply because the devs didn't have enough faith in themselves to tell a story without dialogue, but still wanted to have an absence of people. Storytelling without proper spoken dialogue can be challenging, but it is possible. It was something that the movie Wall-E nearly pulled off perfectly until they ruined it by adding people. We didn't need people in that movie. The movie about the robot was nice enough. It's a good movie though, Wall-E. You should watch it. None of this is to say I found the story in Stray to be bad. It wasn't. It was just a bit, well, basic. If this was just a game about a cat who was exploring the ruins of a civilization trying to find their kitty friends, then it could have worked. Hell, those security robots and flesh-eating bugs could have still been used in the story about the kitty cat finding the other kitty cats. It just would have been left to the player to unravel the mysteries. There just wouldn't have been some random fuck standing there saying, oh, this is what that thing is and this is exactly what it does for this reason. The first section of this game, where it's just us and our other cats that we become separated from, made me think that this game was setting us up for some sort of lonely isolation, which is a theme that I absolutely love, but then I saw the robots acting as stand-ins for humans and I was like, oh, okay then. I can't stress enough though that the story and setting are not bad. They're fine. They work. In fact, the game as a whole is not bad. I had fun with it and I'm quite ready to recommend the game. The levels are quite well laid out. The cat's animations are very detailed but don't cross that line where they make the movement way too realistic and slow. The graphics are quite good. There's a lot of detail in the environments that we get to explore and I rather like the look of the robots that populate the city. The background music is also rather pleasant to listen to and often does a damn good job of contributing to the game's atmosphere and tone. The game does, in my opinion, fail to deliver proper emotional moments because all of these robots are rather one-dimensional characters when you can call them characters at all. Our little companion robot gets some character growth and a big part of the game is helping them find their lost memories. Though the way in which the story concludes, well, it wasn't bad, it just didn't have the weight or impact it could have. Maybe the devs should have just gone the whole hog and got some voice actors. All the dialogue in this game is conveyed with text boxes and gibberish noises, and this can be quite detrimental to games that want their stories to carry emotional weight. It probably is entirely possible for this to work, I'm just as of yet to see an example where this is the case. The gameplay is somewhat limited and again the jumping and climbing is all contextual, but I think the game has been built well enough to make all of this stuff work and to make all of this stuff fun. All in all, Stray is a very good, if short, game. I picked it up on Thursday the 21st of July and I'd completed it by Friday the 22nd of July. And it's not like I played it all night, I played it for like 2 hours in the evening and then 1.5 hours in the morning and it was done. But you know what, I don't really have an issue with short games and Stray does everything it needs to do in a time that it sticks around for, so it doesn't really matter. Stray isn't so much a game about a cat as it is a game where we play as a cat, furthering the plots of the real characters with our actions whilst we exist only as a prop or maybe a side character at best, but then again, we're a cat, what else are we supposed to do? Chew on our feet and take spite shits because the robots don't love us enough? Actually, that is a point. Why can't we spite shit in this game? That's a thing that cats do, why can't we do it in this game? Worst game ever. No, I'm joking. Stray is pretty good and definitely worth checking out. On the one hand, their presence bred a melancholic balls.
Are we playing as some sort of talking cat who has a way with interacting with emotionless
automatons?
Why are you doing this to me?